Hey guys, welcome to the TMP YouTube page. This is our second interview. My name is Christian Alvarado. This is...
I'm Abraham Minjarez, the Worsihp Leader at the Meeting Place Church.
I'm pretty excited to see what's going on. Yeah, bro.
I'm looking forward to this.
It's going to be interesting, bro. Alright, let's get to it. One thing I wanted to ask you right off the bat is, when you think TMP, besides just like the name, what it means, like what do you think? Like what do you think of when you think of this place? What comes to mind?
Man, what comes to mind is just a lot of people coming together and just working hard for what the vision that Pastor Doug can place. That's honestly what I think about TMP, because that's all I've experienced is every Sunday, every week we work hard, and that's what we've done since the beginning is work hard together.
I haven't asked you personally, but I've heard that you actually lived in the church for a little bit.
Bro, I used to live in the church.
What's the story with that?
Well, because my mom, she was trying to move to LA from Carruthers, and I had nowhere to go, so Doug was like, hey, we have this idea that we want to do a 24-hour church, but we need someone here to be at the church. So I was like, I'll be here. I mean, just don't charge me rent because I'm broke. So he was like, dude, we'll feed you, and your job is just to work here at the church.
Was that the sell? We're gonna feed you?
Yeah, we'll feed you. So I was like, all right, just as long as I got Hot Pockets and a couple noodles, I'm good to go.
What's your favorite kind of Hot Pocket?
My favorite kind of Hot Pocket is the pepperoni with the extra cheese.
How did you, like, when I say, like, what was it to get you, like, what was the journey spiritually to get you to, like, not like physically here, but like just a spiritual place of God? Like, what was it like?
The spiritual place for me was identifying what the heck I'm going to do. Like, as a worshiper, what am I going to look like? Because a lot of people know me, like, as the very energetic person and just, like, that outgoing person. But it's, like, honestly, like, my personality has kind of, like, just died down to where I'm very, like, finding myself being very introverted and, like, I don't really want to go out and be crazy. And honestly, because it got me in trouble. The Spanish word was travieso, like I caused trouble everywhere I went. And it's because that was my energy, like I got in trouble with it. And I need to focus this energy somewhere else. Like I need to be energetic somewhere else, and music, like I love music. So the only thing that church has to do with music is worship. So it's like I tap into what does worship look like, and throughout scripture, throughout the Bible, you find people doing crazy things in worship, and I'm like, oh my God, like this captures me. Like I want to do crazy things for God and through worship. Like that's the only way I can do it is through music. Music is what I'm good at, and I have to do a lot of self-evaluating, and it's the only way to do that is to read the scriptures. There's no better way to finding out who you are than finding out who God is, and you're only going to get that through reading the Bible.
Like one thing I know is like God calls you, but it's not like you don't get there without, like, you have to drill it, you have to practice. Like God gives you tools, you have to work it. It's like, what does that journey look like for you? Just like drilling into this worship, this heart for worship. Like what is that like?
It's just I do it, man. I do it every day, so it's just natural. The more you do it, the more it just feels natural. It's like speaking, when you learn to speak Spanish, it's like at first it's going to be kind of spotted. What you're going to say doesn't really make sense to a Spanish speaker, but then the more you speak Spanish, it's like you get to speak that second language, and it's just like worship. It's like, at first, I didn't even know what the heck to say to God. Like when I play my guitar, I found myself just cooing like a baby, like, ooh, Jesus, God. It's like about the only as spiritual as it gets. But then as I start really getting into worship, I'm finding myself like really saying words like that one. When the one song I was working on is burning and burning, it's burning in my soul, and it's like that's bleeding from when I read my scripture, because I worship and then read my scripture, and then I'm have all these thoughts going in my head, and it's like instead of writing sermons, I'm writing songs. I get excited as I go. Like I find myself, when I first play guitar, I'm finding myself kind of just slow and just steady, but then as soon as I open up and as soon as I start feeling it and get energetic, I feel like I can do this for hours. God has just done so many things in my life that's caused me to turn, and it's like, I believe everybody goes through their story for a reason, and you never know, your story can change that person's life. That's what it was for me. That most pivotal moment was somebody investing and telling me their story, because that person that invested in me almost went through exactly what I was going through, and I saw no hope. And seeing that somebody else was able to see light in my situation just proved that it's all going to be all right. And that's how you get somebody to open up to you, is you share your testimony. Obviously, you see that God has a plan for them. You see that God has specific things for that person, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get them right? Because that's our goal, is to save people.
Yeah.
So to save this person, you're gonna have to be vulnerable. You're gonna have to let go of your pride and be like, look, hey, me too. Like, we all have the same story. Like, you're me being the worship leader, and then somebody just coming into our church. Like, when I'm connecting with this person, and we can't be here. We've got to be here. And that's, if anything, it's got to be here. Like, I'm less than this person. I got to be this person's servant. Like, that's what Jesus did. Jesus knelt down and washed people's feet. That's the vulnerability that we're gonna have to do to save those souls.
It was like my pivotal moment for God, like that changed my life. Was like, there was like a big thing, like the one thing I remember was, when I remember just telling God, like, dude, I'm tired of this, because like the month prior I was trying to get right, and I was like, just forgive me, and I was like, dude, I'm just tired. I was like, can we just stop already? I was like, I'm just ready. And I remember feeling like this physical weight, like literally a physical weight, just like lift. And like the way I think of it is like, if you're unhealthy for a long time, you don't realize it, you get accustomed to it. But when you get healthy, you're like, oh, this is different, It was like that, I was so used to this heaviness, like this anger that when it left, I was like, oh, how do we show people like this is who God is? Because like I know so many people who know of God or have previous experience. I'm like, dude, like if you could just see it, and like I can't put it in words, like if you could just see Him for what it is, like it would change you. Like it's like, how do we do that? Like how do we get people to try to get emotional? How do we get people like to see to see who He is?
I feel like I don't really have that answer. Like I can't give you a personal answer, because it basically comes down to like my personal thing is loving people. But like you said, that's cliche. But I feel like God gives us the answer. Like He created us in His image, and the only time we were created in His image was when we were before even Adam ate the apple, was when we were without sin. Now who else was without sin? Jesus. Yeah. Jesus was without sin. That's the only way we're going to be able to show people who God is. It was Jesus, and I bet there was, before Jesus came, I bet there was Christians asking, who's God? How do we see God? How can I show God? And then there was people like Moses who were those leaders, who were those symbols, but even they failed. Yeah. I mean, there are people like David, even David failed, but we needed people like Jesus. God had to send Jesus, the perfect and spotless one. And honestly, bro, we're never gonna get there. But as if we can just get as close to Jesus as we can. And Jesus wasn't just about loving people. Like, yes, that's what we want to promote, is we want to promote that Jesus loved people. But what Jesus did on the inside was Jesus was constantly connecting with God. And we need to find people that are willing to invest 10 years, that are willing to invest, if it takes a day, it takes a day. If it takes 10 years, 20 years, it takes however long it takes to invest in a person. But if you believe that that person has a true calling in your life, and if you feel that God's got something for them, then invest, But invest.
If you guys want to come check us out, we are at TMP.com. Are we at com or org?
Org, I believe.
We'll have it all on there. We'll have our YouTube, our Instagram. If you're watching, you should probably watch on YouTube, Facebook, all that. We'll have the links to our actual page. if you have any questions, comment. We have our email. If you have any personal question, email us. We would love to get back to you. Give it a like, follow, all that good stuff. We love you. We'll talk to you later.